Why you failed so far when it comes to starting a business. I discussed the reasons in this video. Hello everyone, it's Sajad, Stealth Amazon FBA. So a common problem when somebody starts a new business, whether that's an online business, or pretty much any type of business as an entrepreneur, the problem is most people fail, especially within the first few weeks or months. And you've all seen the stats about 90% of businesses fail, etc. I'm gonna discuss some of the important reasons why and why you've not been able to get started and really push your business. And understand this comes from a place of experience. I'm not intentionally just being harsh on you, I'm just telling you the truth. And these are things you really need to know. And it's important to learn from people more experienced because they may have gone through the exact same thing. So what you might not realize is some of what you're going through is completely normal. It's completely expected. It's not abnormal. In fact, to become a successful entrepreneur, you need to be a bit abnormal because you're not doing what 95% of people are doing. You're in the minority when you go after and pursue your dreams and ambitions. So I'm going to relate the first reason to Amazon. You have to understand that no business is perfect. Chase imperfection rather than perfection, in my opinion. Let me give you an example. You've done your product research, you found a really good product, it starts selling, but it doesn't do so well. It does very average. And then you suddenly think, well, online business is not for me, I'm gonna give up right now. But what you don't realize is, let's say you're in a niche where you've got 3 other competitors. You don't know if when you launch your product, all 3 of the others are gonna go out of stock or whether they'll give up, because that will boost your sales. Or how do you know if those competitors have launched another 10 products selling a very similar product in the exact same niche? So you've suddenly got a lot more competition. You have no control over that. When you research your product, you're doing your best, you're being 90% sure how your product might do, but that's all you can ever do. You are never gonna get a perfect product, a perfect launch, perfect sales. That's never ever going to happen. There's always an element of risk, and that's completely normal. I love risk when it comes to business. The more risk, a lot of the time, the more reward you can potentially get because nobody else is bothered to do this long term and to put in that time and effort. The second reason, and it's a related reason, and I get this point from a book called Thinking in Bets. That book is by Annie Duke, and this is summarized nicely in the book. You need to make high quality decisions consistently over a period of time. So what you need to understand when you're actually purchasing a product and you're trying is it's almost like flipping a coin. Heads, it does really well. Tails, it doesn't do so well. What you have to understand is it's quite possible just by chance that you might get tails a good few times before you get heads, or you might get a heads first. But if things are going really well, you still need to analyze. You still need to learn from things that you could have improved upon and done better. That's really important. It's not only when things don't go well that you learn. You need to be constantly learning throughout the process. In that particular book, they covered a concept which is positive expected value. So that's basically the expected value is the potential reward multiplied by the likelihood of it happening. Now this is very important, and if we use Amazon FBA as an example again, what is the likelihood of your product doing well? So let's just say it was something like 50%. What you have to then do is multiply that by the reward you're going to get. So if you've invested £1,000 or £2,000 or dollars into your product, if things are going really well, what's your expected outcome? So you might say, Sajad, well, I expect to get 3,000 back. That's not your expected outcome. Your expected outcome is to get that money back, reinvest in the same product, and that product could be selling well for many months or even years. I'm not saying it definitely will, but that's a possibility. You could assume 6 to 12 months of consistently good sales as a best case scenario for your product. Well, maybe not even best case, as an average case scenario. So you need to actually add all of those numbers together and then realize that your 1,000 or 2,000 investment could potentially lead to, let's say 10,000 or 15,000 US dollars or pounds or even more. So that's your expected value, and you have to multiply that by the likelihood. So if you multiply that by 50% likelihood, or even if you call it 20%, a 1 in 5 likelihood, you'll realize that that number is a lot more than your initial investment, which means it's a good bet to take. It's a good risk to take. But my point related to the first one is, regardless of how good it is compared to other potential options you have to consistently keep taking that action, keep taking that risk, because eventually over a long period of time, you will destroy everybody else and you will be a winner for sure. However, again, you have to think about it long term, not short term in that split decision that you're making today. And just before I discuss the next point, if you've been enjoying my content, please hit the like button and comment below. I appreciate all of the support. If you're new to the channel, I discuss everything entrepreneur and business related. So please click on the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. That way, YouTube will actually notify you when I release a new video. And the next advice I have for you, the third point, is in terms of getting lucky. Now, you might have heard of businesses doing really well and everybody's saying, even maybe the entrepreneur says, look, I just got lucky. A lot of the time, they didn't really get lucky. They're just being humble to say they're very grateful for what they've received. And that's very important, being humble in business. But you have to understand that they would not have gotten lucky if they didn't try the business in the first place. If you're not even trying and you're pursuing a business, no luck will suddenly come and help you out. If you've actually launched products and they're selling on Amazon and you're working to get your product even better and more optimized, you may then get lucky by a sudden change in seasonality trends or sudden change in, I don't know, government policy, and suddenly your products are what everybody else wants. So you've created your own luck, if that makes sense. If you're doing a 9 to 5, you're not suddenly gonna get lucky and your boss comes and says, look, I'm gonna double your pay tomorrow. Just not gonna happen. So you have to get lucky, you have to put your chips in the right place and give yourself a chance of it actually doing well. My next advice for you, if you're slow getting started, again, very common, happened to me too, is you can call it a daily highlight. Focus on one thing you need to do today, one thing you need to improve upon, one thing you need to learn. And a lot of people tell me they don't have enough time to run a business or do all of this stuff. Sometimes that small thing to learn can take as little as 10 or 15 minutes. You can't tell me that you don't have 10 or 15 minutes in a day to learn something. You can have a video on or tutorial on whilst you're cooking or doing something else. So there's no excuse for not making even 10 or 15 minutes of time in your day. You can even learn during your commute to work or back, for example. Now, why do I talk about that small action? Because again, with everything entrepreneurship related, you'll learn, investment related, you'll learn that it's the compound effect over time that is so significant. That small action you do, that extra 10 or 15 minutes, is so subtle that you can't even look back and say that made a difference. But when you're selling successfully and you're in 6 figures and 7 figures, whatever the business you're trying, you'll find out that it's those small actions that you can't even remember that added up over time. So that's the compound effect right there. The next point I will make is related to a law called Parkinsons Law. If you've not heard about it, it's basically, let's say you had an essay or a project to submit with your current work right now, and you were given a deadline of 4 weeks time. Well, very likely what you're gonna do is fill up those 4 weeks to complete that project. If your project was due this Friday, very likely again, you'll be able to do everything you needed to do, and it'll be 95% as good as the other one, even if it was submitted this Friday. So my point there is you're gonna fill up that time dependent on when the deadline is. Now that's very important as an entrepreneur, because you have to then reverse engineer and make deadlines yourself. If you're saying to yourself, well, I'm Sajad, I'm busy at the moment, I'm gonna start the business later in the year or next year. Look, it's just never gonna happen. And that's your own fault, nobody else's. You need to start right now and give yourself deadlines. If you need to launch a product, you've got a budget ready and you're and ahhing about 2-3 different products, give yourself a deadline. Just say, look, by this Friday, I need to decide, I need to choose a product and I need to place that order. Just get on with it. Give yourself a deadline and don't overthink that aspect. Because as I've said, you're never going to be 100% sure. You just have to go for it. So just keep that law in the back of your mind. Don't try and just fill up that time and give yourself longer term deadlines. You need to get on with it right now, because after you've launched your product, you've got many other decisions to make as you scale and grow your business. And the final point I'll make, again, it's just a common question I get. People constantly asking me, is now the best time to do a business? Is now the best time to do an online business, especially Amazon FBA? Same thing, and it's the same reply every time. There is no perfect time. There wasn't never a perfect time. The perfect time, if you want one, was years ago. You need to start right now. It doesn't matter which business you're going after, get on with it. Otherwise, you're never ever going to get started. Just take small baby steps. If you're thinking about some other business, maybe it's not Amazon, some other business you want to set up, take those initial steps. Start learning about that business right now. Do research on that business right now. Set up accounts, set up a company, etc. Nothing is as big as you make it in your mind. The same way, all of this stuff about it's not the perfect time right now, this is all your mind making up stuff, making up doubts. If you give your mind enough time, it'll make up even more doubts. Don't give yourself time to think too much about it. Action always beats everything else. Even if you take wrong actions, eventually you'll learn from that and take right actions further down the road. And also, our comprehensive training program is the second link in the description below if you're interested. We are running a promotion at the moment, so you can use the coupon code, which is also below in the description, to get an extra discount. So that's it for this one. I hope it's helped you. If you have any questions, please, again, just comment below. Thanks very much for listening.